So today can be an Ask Dr. B segment. And all right.
Genetic methylation test.
Mhm.
I've heard of this recently, and I'm like, what in the world is that? I think I said it right. Methylation
Yeah.
test. And is there a cost? Do you do that even?
So the question was, is there genetic testing for methylation and how much is it? How do you do it, et cetera? The first answer is yes, there is testing for to look at your genes related to methylation. And there's various tests available, and the pricing can range, from inexpensive all the way to very expensive, depending on which test and which lab you use. And so my bias with patients is to use the inexpensive one because the inexpensive one gives you a lot more information typically than the expensive one. And what do I mean by that? Well, the expensive one usually is uh, only looking at a limited number of pathways specific to methylation. And so those pathways are going to be, pathways related to the methylation cycle, which I've made videos before drawing this out, but essentially you've got the MTHFR gene right here, and you've got homocysteine here and methionine here. And if you picture these two things as two gears that turn, for this one to turn this way, this one has to turn this way, right? And to get
Okay.
this one to turn this way requires folate or vitamin B9 as the coenzyme. Sorry, my handwriting with this mouse is not good. As the coenzyme for the MTHFR enzyme. And so this one turning left causes this one to turn right. And when this one turns right, methionine gives up a methyl group. So it's no longer methionine when it does that. It's now homocysteine. But homocysteine, if that builds up, is toxic to heart, to kidneys, to brain, drives oxidative stress or rust. So all kinds of issues, for heart attack or cardiovascular issues, for MS, for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all that. So if a methylation cycle is working efficiently, well, these gears will turn. You'll turn the homocysteine back into methionine, and your body will do this all day long. If it's inefficient, then homocysteine will build up on your blood test, and there's probably an inefficiency there somewhere. So back to the question, the expensive methylation test will test pretty much just the pathways related to this, what I've drawn for you, for a lot of money. Or you can run something like a 23andMe test, which looks at a much larger number of genes, related and unrelated, for 99 bucks. And sometimes they have deals for 79 bucks. So, that's how I have most patients go, because although it's not necessarily, it's not run for the health reasons that a methylation specific test is run for. If the genetic testing is clean and accurate, well, then your gene is the same regardless of which test you run, right? So we're getting the same information just for much less money, and you're getting the a whole bunch of the rest of your genome too, some of which we know about, some of which we don't, but with the way research is going, every year we know more about more genes. So that 23andMe data can be accurate and illuminating into the future as
Well,
well. So,
I've done the Ancestry one,
okay.
but
So
I don't.
so the 23andMe and the Ancestry.com, um, in and of themselves, like, their health reports are junk. We don't do it to get their health reports. Basically, I have the patient run that, so once you have your results, you can download your raw data, and I can take your raw data and plug it in um,
I gotcha.
to
Okay.
software to give us the info we're looking for. So 23andMe works that way. Ancestry used to. I think it probably still does. I'm not sure though, because I haven't done that one in a while.
I've done
Um,
it was a long time ago for me too. So
yeah. So if you've run it, we could try it, and if it doesn't, then maybe you have to, run a 23andMe. But you'd still be you'd still be out much less money than if you ran the expensive methylation test only.
Okay.
And so that can be useful. Now, just as a added bonus here, if we say we get the results, right? So if we look at the MTHFR gene, it's going to come back as, minus minus, plus minus, minus plus, or plus plus. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a plus. Sorry. All right. So this would be the ideal or the normal one. Okay. Anywhere with a plus means you have a SNP, or a single nucleotide polymorphism, or basically a variant is what that is. Okay. So these two people got one good copy and one bad copy from mom and dad. All right. This person has two bad copies. And so any one of these outcomes, from normal to mixed to too bad, any one of those outcomes could have perfect functioning methylation and normal homocysteine. Any one of these outcomes could have inefficient methylation and abnormal homocysteine. So I'm telling you this to say, just because your genetic testing shows a SNP or a variant, that does not mean that you've got a physiologic inefficiency because of that. In other words, you're not damned by the gene, okay, or by the variant.
Okay.
Genes load the gun, environment pulls the trigger, right, Jennifer? So it's interesting to know your genes, but I've had patients with two bad copies that have perfect homocysteine, and I've had patients with two normal copies that are a train wreck with homocysteine. So, you can run the genetic testing, but I think it's better, at first to just get a homocysteine, because the homocysteine is the real time readout on your methylation cycle. If your homocysteine is normal, then probably your methylation cycle is normal. And so, your genes are probably functioning efficiently regardless of what you are, plus minus minus plus 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 minus minus. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the gene is just a susceptibility to inefficient functioning. It's not a damnation to it. And so, the homocysteine is the actual physiologic output. So if the homocysteine's good, then we're not really concerned with methylation.
And homocysteine you can check with blood work.
Yep. That's a blood test. Yep.
Okay.